What's up, family? This is the Locker Room Beef Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This week we are starting all of our weekly routines, so we're pretty excited about that, as you can imagine. We have an article posted about Drake and all of his affiliations written by yours truly on the LRB column. That's at lockerroombeef.com, so go check out our website for everything there. Social media has been popping. Make sure to go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook, YouTube, whatever applies to you. We're officially up and running on Apple Podcasts, so if you're into that, prefer listening, I prefer that as well. I think it'd be better for you guys, so I recommend it. Today's episode features one of the LRB family members, Matt Trapp. Today we talk about some of our news segments for you and discuss the Eric Bledsoe trade fiasco, how the NBA season is going, and just a mixed bag of all sorts of stuff. So hope you guys enjoy, and let's do it. What's up, family? This is the Locker Room Beef Podcast. I'm joined by my wonderful guest today, Matt Trapp. Matt, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are the listeners doing? I hope they're doing well on this Friday evening.
Yeah, they're going to have a tough time really responding to you, so don't ask them too many questions.
I know, that's the first and the last time.
Yeah. Well, we have a pretty good show today. We're also going to introduce some new segments, so I'm pretty excited about that. Our last few pods have obviously been very introductory. But now we're going to start getting to like the weekly stuff.
I think we're going to start getting to the beef.
The beef, the banter.
What? Yep.
Yeah, I hope those bees didn't really pierce ears too much, but hopefully the audio quality is decent enough. Anyways, first segment we're going to do is what I'm tentatively calling future headline. So basically what we're going to come up with is a somewhat realistic but pretty hot take, bold future headline that we could both see, and basically it's one of those things where if it happens and you look good, and if it doesn't, you say, hey, I didn't really think it was, but I put my name to it. So for future headline, what are you going to put out there? What am I going to see in the next couple of weeks or months?
It is going to be in the NFC East. Carson Wentz, the quarterback, is the 2017-2018 MVP of the NFL season.
No. All right, tell me why.
I think his mobility is very good. He is from North Dakota State, where he was running a pro offense. So he's been doing stuff that the Mitchell Trubiskys, the Jared Goffs have been doing his whole career. Is audibling, sliding the protection, hot routes, just reading the defense, playing Madden in his sleep, dreaming about Madden, dreaming about throwing the ball. His release is quick. He had a Houdini act on
Wait, all of this is due to North Dakota State?
No, this is just him in the NFL, what I saw this past Monday night against my NFC favorite Redskins. It was hard to watch.
Yeah, the
Not
Deadskins.
as hard as last night's Thursday night game where I was almost in tears.
Don't cry.
Yeah, so that's... John Gruden doesn't need to tell me that Carson Wentz is good. I know he's good. He's going to be the MVP of this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. So I'm in a fantasy football league, and it's actually the first year I'm doing it. And I had a trade opportunity right when Aaron Rodgers was getting hurt. Now, this trade proposal was given before Aaron's injury.
Right when he was getting hurt.
Right before somebody gave me a trade proposal, which basically is it Parker, where it's like one of their better receivers. I think I had him on my squad. I think it's Parker, or maybe it was Devontae Adams. Does that ring a bell?
Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
You're mixing up Devontae Parker of the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I have both of them. That's why. So sometimes I have a difficulty remembering which one's which. So Devontae Adams, he asked for, and I have a decent amount of receivers already that are pretty good. And he gave me Carson Wentz. And at first I was like, probably not. But then I have Jameis on my squad. And famous Jameis literally posted 2 points for me and gave me the L for that week because he got sat in that game because his head wasn't in it, I guess. And he was a puppy and not a dog.
Well, me?
No, he got hurt. Shoulder.
No, sure, you could say that after the fact. But like, during the game he was just playing horribly, and he basically just got switched up. Like, it was pitiful. So because of that, I was like, you know what? And then Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and I was like, oh, that's gonna make Devontae even worse.
Oh yeah.
So took the no-brainer trade. Next week, Wentz pulls up like 34, 35 points for me, wins me the week, no problem. So I'm a bit of a Wentz fan recently just because of that, but I could see it. I could see the future headline.
Yeah, he's a very tough player.
You think he might be like the best QB in 3, 4, 5 years?
No. I think in 3 years he's going to be the best quarterback in the league.
Okay.
When Aaron Rodgers is done.
Yeah. All right. Well, here's my future headline. World Series is going on. My future headline is the World Series goes 7, and the Astros win it in better fashion than the Cubs did last year.
Oh my gosh.
No way. That Rajah Davis, I remember that. I remember exactly where I was. My dorm room.
Now, I'm not the biggest baseball fan by any means, but whenever history is happening, I like to try to turn on the television for it. So I definitely watched that Game 7. It was pretty amazing. Probably the most engaged I've ever been in a baseball game ever. But I think the Astros have been like just this unbelievable team, and with Game 2 win in extra innings, I mean, I think that's like going to be a huge win for them, especially going through the series, and now with multiple games at home, and that advantage, I see them winning in Game 7 and winning in kind of big fashion. And so my little bit of a hot take is that it'll even be in better fashion than the Cubs win last year, which was obviously legendary due to all the history. But what do you think?
Yeah, I could definitely see it going 7, but it might be a bit hard for them to top that insane finish with Chapman trying to blow it for them. And even with the rain, people forget about the rain delay. That could have affected Cleveland a little bit. I feel bad for them. Maybe they're on a little bit of a hot streak there, and then they let the troops, Chris Bryant, Jason Hayward, let them recoup in the dugout and come back stronger than ever. And history was history.
We'll see how it goes, but that'll be my pick, that the Astros have the best World Series Game 7 win in recent history.
He's an idiot.
I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, we'll see. So next segment we have is notable notifications. The idea of this segment is basically you and I, much like a lot of people, have our notifications on with multiple teams streamed and everything. Players going left and right. I know every time I see you and you don't turn on your phone for the next 5 minutes, that the next time you do turn on your phone, there's like 386 notifications.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got smart way back and I turned off the sounds for the notifications.
Yeah.
Which helped a lot.
Yeah, or else it'd just be like a stringing sound of just constant notifications.
In my when I just first started downloading the team streams and the scores, I had the sounds on, and that was a bit annoying. So I learned pretty early in my notification life.
Yeah. So the idea of this segment is, what is the most notable notification that you've seen basically over the past week or so? So you go first.
I don't know if this was late or not, but I got it about 2 hours ago. It was ESPN expected to lay off 40 to 60 more employees by year's end.
What?
Third round of job cuts in last 2 years. And to expand on that, I'm not going to boycott ESPN to the point where I'm not going to watch Monday Night Football, right? But if I see that pregame on when Susie Colbert and Randy Moss are rah-rahing, I'm going to be like, turn that off, switch it to NFL Network. I want to hear Deion Sanders takes, Marshall Faulk's takes. I do not want to watch the pregame. I'm done with come on, man. I've seen enough.
Come on, man.
Yeah. Come on, ESPN. Stephen A., you washed up.
Oh, wow.
You better hope Stephen A. is listening.
Nope.
So.
Yeah. So I think it's just kind of sad. It just shows you more and more what direction they're going. And I think the Bleacher Report thing that happened was pretty funny. Did you see what happened there? that basically ESPN hired one of the most famous podcasts, Pardon My Take.
Shout out.
They hired that whole crew to really just be a show on ESPN and like off hour. And I think that was ESPN's way of being kind of like transitioning to what I think there might be in the future, which is basically just a channel and not really a content creator. And they'll just hire all the content creators because they seem to be pretty booty at that right now.
What?
Yeah, so then they did that, and as soon as like they were going to run a show, like really like within the first show, they like cut it and they're like, okay, we can't do this because they had like the show had just too many ties to just like awful things that Disney wasn't really trying to sponsor, as far as just like sexual stuff, gender stuff, whatever. And so yeah, they just pulled the plug on that. So good job, ESPN, you tried. But I actually do think that might be the history, like the future for them, because that they have to figure out something to do, and they're just not good at content creation anymore.
Well, they have Mickey Mouse's ears presiding over them, which handcuffs a lot of what they want to do. And a hire that I actually, depending on how you see it, I kind of question it. Adrian Wojnarowski, they're pretty much just paying for his like breaking news.
Yep.
And because always on the ticker it would say Adrian Wojnarowski of Yahoo reported this, like they'd always have to give him credit. And I think their egos are at a certain place where they just want their ticker to like, they have so much pride in the ticker, which they can't really monetize that.
Yeah, I think Ramona Shelburne was just getting destroyed.
Shout out.
I kind of don't know who that is.
Oh well, that's good. That's good for ESPN. That's like one of their main like NBA analysts.
Oh, is she the blonde one?
She's a little bit thicker than maybe how most men or women might enjoy, and
What?
she's on like the show with T-Mac and Rachel Nichols sometimes.
Wait,
Ramona Shelburne, not
she's
ringing a bell.
blonde.
No, that's your girl Michelle Beadle, which you very
There's more than
weirdly
one
have a
blonde.
great infatuation for.
She's getting rougher, but she's
Michelle
my girl,
Beadle is?
so I'm gonna give her a pass.
Michelle Beadle, I know you're listening. You
Shout
have a man right here that will literally kiss your hand and your feet whenever you need it. If you need a foot massage, if you need just to talk back and forth about life or sports, he's here for you.
Yeah.
His name is Matt Trapp. I probably shouldn't say this on the pod, but I am. Not too long ago, I asked Matt of all the women in the world that he would consider skedaddling with.
What?
In his top 3 was Michelle Beadle.
Shout out.
She was one of my first Twitter followers, man.
Oh my god.
Like Twitter, I followed.
That's so cringy, dude.
Why? That was when
Why she can
Yes.
talk sports.
ESPN was all hail ESPN, and I would come home to Sports Nation, and I was very sad when she got taken away from ESPN. I think that was their first mistake, was letting her go, but they finally brought her back to try to repair something that can't be fixed.
Isn't it funny that she and Colin Cowherd had a show together?
No, that is what expanded my sports horizons, was that show.
Oh my gosh.
With Sports Nation?
I think they have beef.
I think they do too. Well, kind of. It was one of those things where I've seen them like sort of talk, and they're just awkward about it, and they don't like. It's like, oh yeah, it's like friendly, but not really friendly. It's like when you pass by your ex, you know. Like it's all love until you're with your friend and you walk away, and they're like, oh, I freaking hate that person.
Yeah. He's got a newer, shinier toy on the show.
What?
She's always glistening on that show.
Locker room beef does not demean women by any means. We love women. They're the kinder, gentler, smarter gender, and we recognize that.
Yeah.
By toy, he meant prized possession, and we're gonna leave it at that. Moving on. So, my notable notification also happened very recently. Was that Kobe Bryant, when inducted into the Hall of Fame, wants to be introduced by either Phil Jackson or Michael Jordan.
Who, me?
Which I was kind of surprised by both. Typically, a lot of these players, when they're inducted into the Hall of Fame, they like to be introduced by kind of like their role model, which obviously, like Michael was probably one for Kobe. But I feel like Kobe's whole career was just based upon him trying to be better than Michael. So for him to be like, okay, now I want you to bring me up. I don't know if that's like a banterous like selection or if that's like his way of like saluting to him and all he like the path that he paved for him. I just thought that was weird. And then the thought of Phil Jackson, I mean, his reputation is so bad now. Like, he might as well just walk up there, like, with his full hookah lounge and smoke it up with the incense and give a demonstration of how the locker rooms would be when Kobe and Shaq were winning championships. But, yeah, I just thought those were two kind of, like, weird selections that I didn't expect. I would have thought he chose, like, a teammate, or I obviously didn't think he'd pick Shaq.
He should pick Rick Fox.
Or Derek Fisher. I mean, I don't know. There was just a lot of picks that I thought he would choose.
Robert Horry. Did he play with Robert Horry?
We don't do research here on Locker Room Beef.
No. My thoughts on that notification was, first, Michael Jordan.
Shout out.
I don't know if he looks at notifications or has an iPhone or I'm convinced he just lives in North Carolina mountains and that's where I want to live. But anyways, I feel like if he saw this saying Kobe wants him to introduce him, he would scoff at it. He's like, no, you fell one ring short of me, young blood.
What?
I'm not going to introduce you. And yeah, Phil Jackson, I don't think he can walk out of his house at the moment. Just pick another teammate. Pick Shaq. He'll just make jokes at you the whole time.
Yeah, Shaq will try to steal the show somehow. All right, let's transition a little bit. So this segment's going to be a little bit longer just because I have more content to it. But I think this is something we're probably going to do every week. It's sort of it's a twofold. So every week we're going to introduce the L's of the week, and then we're also going to introduce the dubs of the week. So there might be more or less. And because it's been a while since we've sort of put out our pods, we might go a little bit longer than a week. But yeah, so basically the L of the week. You want to start off again?
Yeah, my L of the week is the receiver from Clemson. Played at Clemson. He's with the Steelers now. I know a lot of you have probably heard of his name. Martavis Bryant.
Shout
Give
out.
it up for his L. The Steelers, he's a cancer.
Oh, wow.
And
What?
I'm not convinced Mike Tomlin is all that great of a coach. He does not keep the locker room buttoned up. You can go down that roster. It's probably the most talented roster. But again and again, when it comes to January, he sees Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick outcoaches him. Let's not forget that Mike Tomlin is a person that stood on a return and tried to trip a player. So when your players see that, you know that you can kind of, Ben Roethlisberger time and time again has talked bad about the organization. But with Bryant, he has said that he needs to feed his family when he got suspended for a year on something that he could easily have stayed off of.
What is that?
Weed. Stay off the weed.
Medicinal.
A great quote by Stephen A. Smith. Yeah, the Steelers were fed up like any good organization will do. They draft the new shiny toy, Juju Smith-Schuster, out of USC in the first round,
Juju.
who is probably as talented, if not more talented. He has definitely been in football shape longer than Martavis, and he's getting the targets that Martavis is not getting. He's fed up. He's a baby. He got sent to the scout team.
Yeah, that is a major L. That's a major L, but I honestly think mine is a bigger L. Now, it's been a little bit longer removed since this happened, but we haven't been able to discuss on the pod, and I want to give it, unfortunately, its time. The national USA soccer team failed to qualify for the World Cup, and that is just tragic on so many levels, in my opinion. For one, we've been able to qualify since the 80s. So the fact that this team, which I could really argue that this is the best USA roster that we've had. And I could also argue that we have the best player ever in US history.
What?
What was that? I'm literally using that as a soundbite.
Yes.
So
What?
basically, I just think it's super tragic that Team USA wasn't able to qualify. For personal reasons too. I like it when this country is all of a sudden soccer fans, and I enjoy that because you really start to see that they're really not. But it's okay because just to have that like ignorant fandom and to think that they're gonna do well. I mean, they did well. In last World Cup. I mean, they got out of a group that was basically the group of death, in my opinion, with Germany and Portugal, which I know that nation decently. And I'm so sad for the U.S. They had every possible chance, and it was like the worst case scenario. I mean, the worst teams of their pool beat the best teams, and they lost to one of the like middle worst teams. It was just. But honestly, they deserve it. They couldn't beat Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, we could talk talent. We could look at the team on the paper, the squad formation. It doesn't matter. That's why you play the game. They didn't perform. ESPN FC actually had a good take on it. If you want to go watch that, not condoning anything ESPN does. No. But we have the third most people in the world. We can't put 25 players on the pitch to beat Trinidad and Tobago. I don't care about home and away. It doesn't matter. Road, you got to perform. I don't like the Bruce Arena hiring.
Me too.
I liked Klinsmann.
Me too.
Get Germans in the squad. Where's Fabian Johnson? Blanking a little bit. Yeah, Pulisic will just be more refined, but this committee really needs to find a new coach. Bring in a German. Bring Germans back onto the pitch for U.S.
And I think the biggest thing is it sucks for Pulisic because I mean, people know I'm a pretty big Pulisic fan, and I do think that he is already the best USA player ever, and I think he's got unbelievable potential. And now he's not going to be able to be a part of a World Cup till he's in his mid-20s.
Yeah, this is very detrimental. He would have won Ballon d'Or if they qualified. What? The world would have saw what this man is made of. I'm a big enough fan that I'm gonna try to watch every World Cup game. So
yeah, I'll be right there with you. I'm still looking forward
to the World Cup. Maybe we'll watch some games together. Maybe we're friends. Maybe we're not.
Maybe not. No. All right, so that is definitely my L of the week. But you have another one?
Eric Bledsoe, Mini LeBron. I mean, I don't blame him. Earl Watson was his coach, but do not give up Malcolm Brogdon for this John Calipari alum.
Really?
John Calipari.
Shout out.
His players underperform. I'm sorry. He's not as great of a coach as you think.
Wait, one of your favorite players is John Wall, and you're going to talk crap about John Calipari's players?
Yes. John Wall has been an underperformer, but I still like him.
That's another soundbite I'm going to use right there. John Wall is an underperformer out of Matt Trapp.
You lost to Lonzo Ball.
Okay, we'll get into that later. But all right, well, you know what? I'm gonna give you 5 potential Eric Bledsoe trades, and you tell me how you think of them.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one you basically already said, which for me might be the most intriguing one. But what if you did Malcolm Brogdon and or Greg Monroe for Eric Bledsoe? Would you do it? Do you think that makes Milwaukee a bigger contender? How do you feel about that?
No, I mean, Malcolm Brogdon is more mature than Eric Bledsoe. There's value in him staying all 4 years at Virginia. I think that makes, he's more mature. Greg Monroe is a player that is, he's in the 80s and not in a good way.
What?
His game is not for today, if you know what I'm saying.
No.
Okay, so I mean, if that were to happen, and Bledsoe is on the Bucks, which I think is a very probable move, to be Giannis. Do you think that now the Bucks become a contender, like a real contender?
If Bledsoe's on the Bucks?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll take the Cavs to 6 games.
Okay, so they'll basically be the 2 seed and give the Cavs a run for their money, but lose in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of think that's fair, but I think that's a big jump because I don't think that's where they are now.
It's a big jump, but I'm looking at the future. Brogdon is younger and more mature.
Okay. Let me give you a couple other trade scenarios. All right. What about if he goes to Cleveland? You said he's the mini LeBron. There's always been links for, because they're all looked under, and their agent works for the company of Clutch Sports. Rich Paul. Shout out. What if they do like Bledsoe for Iman Shumpert, Channing Frye, maybe the Brooklyn pick? How do you feel about that trade, and do you think that makes Cleveland interesting?
Oh, that makes Cleveland a lot better matchup for Golden State, and that would be a heist for Cleveland. The Suns would get nothing in return. I would feel bad for them, but yeah, that makes Cleveland head and shoulders better.
Well, I don't see Cleveland trading either Derrick Rose because they just got him, or Isaiah Thomas because they just got him. So
they actually can't trade him until December if NBA 2K has taught me anything.
So with that, do you really think it makes sense for Bledsoe, Derrick Rose, and Isaiah Thomas to all be on the same team?
It does not. I honestly forgot about Isaiah Thomas.
Well, don't forget about him because Boston already did.
Oh, wow.
It sure did.
All right, so how about Bledsoe trying to run it in New York and trying to kick it with the unicorn Kristaps, and he gets traded for the new point guard there, Frank Nicotine.
What?
Nicotine. Stay off the cigarettes, Frank.
And maybe for like a Joakim Noah. How do you feel about Bledsoe's chances in New York, and do you think that makes them any better?
I don't know what your two other trade scenarios are, but that is the best scenario for both sides, in my opinion.
Okay.
That could be the fairest trade. Pair him up with Kristaps Porzingis. He's in a bigger market if he cares about that. I don't really know Bledsoe that well. And yeah, that's the best. I don't know what the Knicks are. Were the Knicks saying that they didn't want to trade Nicotine?
I mean, considering they just got him, I don't think he's on the market, but I do think Eric Bledsoe. I mean, where do you rank Eric Bledsoe in point guard? I want to have this conversation.
I'm sorry, Suns fans. I always overlook the Suns and Eric Bledsoe, so it's really hard for me to really judge because on a nightly basis, I'll just not watch their games.
All right, let's do this. Name all the point guards that you can say for a fact are better than Eric Bledsoe.
Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving,
Russell Westbrook,
yeah, thanks for the help there.
Yeah.
My mind's Fazy.
Man, you're like Frank Nicotine right now.
James Harden, if you consider him a point guard.
Yeah.
Dennis Schroeder.
What?
You would consider Dennis Schroeder better than Eric Bledsoe? I disagree, but I think they're around the same, but I would rather have Eric Bledsoe.
Nah, I think Bledsoe's better.
Alfred Payton?
He's an idiot.
I was thinking about him.
There's a couple other ones. How do you feel about
Isaiah Thomas?
Yeah, obviously better.
We got to see this hip. I need to see what this hip's gonna do. What that hip gonna do?
What?
Is it gonna prohibit him? I don't like his height, man. That really prohibits you.
What about let's see, Goran Dragic?
He's nice.
Kyle Lowry, obviously better.
Kyle Lowry, yes.
Shout out.
Markelle Fultz, no.
Nope.
Pat Beverly, I would say Eric Bledsoe's better.
Yeah.
Jeff Teague, I think that's a toss-up. I'll take Bledsoe, though.
Toss up. I'll take Bledsoe. He looks a little bit more built.
Drew Holiday, also a toss-up. I would take Bledsoe, though.
Bledsoe, yeah.
Dame Dollar, clearly better.
Lillard, yes, better.
I don't know if there's anybody else. I don't think there's anybody else. Well, John Wall, obviously.
John Wall, yes.
So I think we're at around 10 that are clearly better.
Top 12? Top half?
Yeah, so he's just like, I think there's about 2 tiers of point guards, and he's like the beginning of the third, you know? I think that's a guy that can actually really change like your franchise a little bit.
Oh, I think for the finals for Cleveland, he would help guard Steph a lot. He could get real physical with him.
I'm going to give you my 2 other trade scenarios, and I kind of held them on purpose because I think they're the better ones.
Hold on.
What? All right, stop, Drake. So here's the first one. It's going to hit home for you and I a little bit. Eric Bledsoe for Terrence Ross, Mario Hezonja, and Elfrid Payton.
Oh my god, that's a heist. If I was a Suns fan, I'd be asking for his GM's head.
So you think that the Suns want no part of that?
No.
I mean, look, the Suns are gonna get 50 cents on the dollar for Bledsoe. It's our, like, they literally told Bledsoe, yeah, like, don't show up for practice or don't show up for the games either. We're just gonna go ahead and figure out something else for you.
That's so crazy to me. Like, he's just not gonna play basketball. Like, what's he gonna do?
I don't know. Do you think that's so? If you're Orlando, you take that trade in a heartbeat?
Yeah.
Okay, we're on the same page for that.
My heartbeat would skip so fast, I might go cardiac arrest on it.
And then my last one, this is the one I think was the most interesting. How about Bledsoe for Emmanuel Mudiay and Kenneth Faried, the Manimal, and he goes to Denver with the two really good passing bigs, and Paul Millsap and Nikola Jokic.
Denver would literally be a top 4 seed.
Whoa, okay, I don't think
If
it's that good.
happened, they'd be better than the Clippers.
Don't you think that's a reasonable trade, though? I think there's a lot of people that like Mudiay. Faried had a good season a couple of years ago.
He's just a rebounder and a runner. It's good for Denver. Denver bench spark plug. But Emmanuel Mudiay, I think his head's still stuck in China. He must have met a woman in China that he's still thinking about over there.
Who, me?
I mean, they could also switch out Emmanuel Mudiay for Jamal Murray if they like him better, but I actually think that trade possibility is there.
I think that Jamal Murray would be a better prospect for the Suns to take it.
Yeah, I agree. So I actually think that's the most interesting one. And there's a decent chance that by the time we air this pod that he could be traded because it's a matter of time. I can't believe it hasn't happened already, but I would not be surprised if it's one of those teams.
Do you think it's going to be a Paul George to the Thunder type heist?
I could see that. I think it's either going to be very obvious, like one of the teams we just talked about, or it's going to be something completely left field.
My personal favorite that I would want to see him go on is the Cavs to see what he's made of, but I feel like they're going to have to, I don't know if that would happen because they would have to trade like Thomas or Rose or Shumpert.
I think my favorite would be if he goes to Denver because I think that'd be a really interesting team all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's my top 2. And then the Knicks, I mean, obviously I would love to.
Well, actually, number 1, I would love for him to go to the Magic, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I think that's the most unrealistic one. I mean, if this keeps delaying and the Magic just keep winning games, he might be like...
Stop.
Let me see.
Stop. All right, so your L of the week was Eric Bledsoe. So we'll see where he ends up. So my final L of the week is a little bit late, but we haven't been able to talk about it on the pod as well. Gordon Hayward and the Celtics. That stank. I can tell you exactly where I was and when that happened. My buddy Tommy and I, who he's one of just indirectly a big part of locker room beef. He's with me. We're gonna watch the game. I'm running a little late. We both enter my apartment, sit down, put on the game right away. First possession we watch. Kyrie throws a kind of a weird little lob to Gordon Hayward. Gordon Hayward kind of like tracks back and lands awkwardly. And I told Tommy right away, I was like, oh, that was weird. Like just like the way he jumped, it was in slow motion. There was Jay Crowder and LeBron right next to him. I was like, something was off there. And then he lands, but you don't notice anything for about 2-3 seconds because he just lands and he's grimacing, but players do that all the time, But he's like holding his leg, and I was like, oh, Tommy, he's hurt. Now, I don't know how bad it was, but I didn't think it was that bad. And then they do the whole camera angle right to the ankle and the foot, and then I just lost it. I can't handle that stuff. I was the kid in 7th grade that had to step out when we were dissecting owl pellets. Like, what? I just can't handle, like, I'm squeamish as hell. And so I never watched the replay. I never watched the Kevin Ware replay. I watched the Paul George injury live. Could not watch that again. So I feel horrible for him because I was really looking forward to watching the Celtics this season. I feel horrible for Kyrie. I feel horrible for the Celtics. And that's just really unfortunate. But I think in a weird way it will allow Jaylen Brown to shine as well as Jason Tatum to get more minutes than he would have. So that's a small plus. But I think as far as the Celtics season go,
I had them as the 1 seed. Now I see them as maybe a 5th seed.
Wow.
It really depends on how good they gel. I do have a lot of faith in Brad Stevens, though. I mean, the fact that they were even in that game and had a chance to win it at the end, that to me just speaks to Brad Stevens. I mean, that's unbelievable. And I think he's arguably the best coach in the NBA, and I think he's going to be able to obviously will them to a playoff series. I just don't know if it's going to be one they host or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that's my L of the week. And then let's transition over to dub of the week, the backside of the segment. I'll go first for this one. So my dub of the week is just the Magic franchise.
Oh my gosh.
Never thought I'd say that. Right now we are 3-1 playing the San Antonio Spurs, who are one of the 2 undefeated teams. Shout out to the Clippers.
Shout out.
And I'm sure we're going to take an L to the Spurs. At least I hope we do.
What?
I'm honestly, every time we win, I'm pissed because I want us to just embrace the Philly mindset. Shout out to the Philly guy.
Shout out.
And I want us to tank so hard so that we can get a decent player again, because I don't think we have anything on our team that's really something to look forward to. I'm impressed by Aaron Gordon recently. I think that maybe he's turning the corner. I don't think he's turned the corner yet. Just because he had his career high doesn't mean that now all of a sudden he's going to be putting up buckets. No, stop with the little high pitch. What? And so my dub of the week is the Magic. I mean, good for them. I literally was watching ESPN today, which I'm not sure why I did that. And I'm watching the show I basically was talking about earlier. I think it's called Inside the NBA, with basically T-Mac and some of those people. And they literally talked for an entire 5 minutes about the Magic. And I was like, I can't remember the last time the Magic were even talking, or even like talked about. Like, it's amazing. So for them, good for them. I don't think it's going to last a while. I still think they win in the 30s as far as games. They don't make the playoffs. And I hope they don't make the playoffs. I want them to lose. Don't get it twisted. This is the last year that tanking really is going to be as beneficial as it has been. And I think they need to embrace that last year. So for me, I'll say the Magic franchise is actually a dub of the week.
Can I say any words on that monologue?
No. But yeah, sure.
Tank on a 32-point lead with 6:32 left in the fourth.
Okay, look, the fact that they beat Cleveland, I almost made that as my notable notification. I couldn't believe that happened, but I just think that Cleveland was just figuring it out, and the Magic just happened to be shooting the lights out. But that's not going to last. What's going to end up happening is they're going to get humbled, and then when that happens, they need to embrace it and be like, guys, we want to be competitive, but we don't want our foot all the way on the gas.
We're not as young as you think. Aaron Gordon's entering the 4th year. Frank Vogel,
He came in at 18 years old. He's literally a baby.
Frank Vogel, I don't feel, is a tanking coach. You feel me? He's a top 10 coach.
You feel me?
He was pushing LeBron to his knees in the Eastern Conference Finals a few years ago against the Pacers. He was a coach with the Pacers.
Just pushing him to his knees.
And speaking of no one talking about the Magic, how did the Magic talk together? That has to be one of the most diverse European, overseas, international team I have ever seen. They got Vucevic, Hazonia, Fournier, Diambo. Like, how do they talk to each other? It's like a soccer team out there.
Yeah, no, it's pretty messed up. I don't know. It's weird. Anyways, so that's my dub of the week. What's your dub of the week?
My dub of the week is Jason Tatum, referring back to the Gordon Hayward L. This is that Gordon Hayward injury. Yes, it was horrible. Never want to see a ankle twisted 90 degrees in any which way.
Nope.
But this is just going to show how well run of an organization Boston is. Danny Ainge, top 3 GM in the league. We can talk about his drafting record another time. He's just showing you how much of a mastermind he is. And speaking of other people willing to shine, if you look at that Gordon Hayward injury again, Jaylen Brown proceeds to shine immediately by almost stepping on his leg, trying to get the loose ball. He ended up scoring the 2 points. He's getting more minutes. I don't know if you've seen Tatum's one-handed putback slam.
Yep.
I personally didn't know that he could do that.
I was unaware.
Because everyone calls him the next Paul Pierce, which I'd never seen Paul Pierce as a necessarily athletic guy.
Oh, let me interrupt you there.
Jason Tatum
Let me interrupt you there.
I don't like interruptions.
Wait, Paul Pierce? People don't know this, and I agree with you. My recollection of Paul Pierce is slow, mixed bag of tricks.
Mixed bag.
Yep, mixed bag.
Well, me?
And he actually, at one point, recorded a 40-inch plus vertical when he was coming into the league. So he's actually hella athletic. But go on.
Okay, that was great research by you. I didn't really see Paul Pierce's early career. I guess I'm seeing it in Jason Tatum. So I'm glad I can see Jason Tatum. And he's just a dub.
What?
Plain and simple.
Okay, I mean, I think he is playing well. He's averaging like in the mid to high teens, I think, in points. I think he might even lead the rookies as far as that go, or is amongst league leaders. I definitely think he's doing well. I really question whether they would have really have taken him first, like Danny Ainge said they would. But nonetheless, it seems like a pretty smart pick. I mean, Markelle looks like he's struggling a bit.
Shout out.
But yeah, so my dub of the week, sort of similar vibes as you, but mine's Lonzo Ball. It's starting to become pretty known in Locker Room Beef podcast that your host is a pretty big Lonzo Ball fan. My favorite attribute in basketball is passing, and he is tearing it up. I predicted before the season he would average around 14 points, 9 assists. Right now, I'm almost nailing that. He's averaging like 12 points, 9 assists. What I was way off on is I thought he would be a slightly above average point guard in rebounding, with averaging about 5 rebounds. 4 or 5 games in, he's averaging 9 rebounds a game. That is insane. He is a rebound and assist away from averaging a triple-double in his first few games as a rookie. For me, that is Lonzo Ball. He is not Lonzo Bust. And so I'm not sure why people are saying that he's not like just absolutely exceeding expectations for you, because if you look at it, he really is. I know he filled it up one game. He had like a 27, 29 point game. And most of the other games, I agree, he's been shooting rough, especially from like the 2-point percentage area. And I think that'll come. Like, I think that's just, he's trying to figure out how to play in the NBA. He's trying to figure out how to finish over bigger guys. It's a little bit of a faster league, and I think he's already adapting well. And you can see the skill, like the long-term skill, and I think it's there. And I think him, Ben Simmons, they're going to have unbelievable NBA careers. I see both of them. Here's another feature headline for you. Ben Simmons, Lonzo Ball, top 10 players in the NBA.
What?
4 years from now. Both of them. No doubt.
That's a very future headline. I don't think I can wait on it.
Hopefully Locker Room Beef is still around. Probably not. So what do you think about Lonzo Ball? Do you think it's Lonzo Ball, Lonzo Bust? What are your thoughts?
All I want to say is, see me on November 22nd and not October 8th. The Lakers go to Sacramento. Is Lonzo gonna duck De'Aaron Fox for the 3rd time? A trilogy, folks. I cannot wait for that matchup. De'Aaron Fox is averaging more points than Lonzo Ball this year.
That's about it.
He is a great pickup for my fantasy team, by the way. And Ben Simmons, I take that with a grain of salt, because I don't think he's truly a rookie. He's been through the league. Like, he's adjusted to what the league's about. And I think there should be an asterisk against those type of rookies, the Philadelphia rookies that play their first NBA game in their 3rd season.
Let me give you perspective here for Lonzo Ball. Okay. I did a little research. Don't get used to it.
Nope.
Okay, here are the players
Okay.
that have averaged at least 9 rebounds and 9 assists in their rookie season. Okay?
I guess the first one,
Yeah.
LeBron James.
No.
What?
Oh,
Any more guesses?
Magic Johnson.
No.
Oh, wow.
Any more guesses?
Lauri Markkanen.
Yes.
Shout out.
Anyone else?
No, that's it.
Okay. The stat god,
Well, me?
Oscar Robertson, and Lonzo Ball.
What?
That is literally it.
Oh, wow.
So Lonzo Ball is, to me, already putting himself in extremely elite company as the only two players. Now Lonzo Ball has to, carry it out throughout the season, obviously, which that'll be easier said than done. But I see him increasing his assist number, which if you take out his first game, he'd be averaging 11 assists. And I see him. I think it'd be tough for him to keep 9 rebounds, but I do think. He's already doing really well in rebounding. I think he's going to probably be around 7 or 8 for the season, if not around 9, like he is now. So Lonzo Ball already in unbelievable company. Let me ask you this: between him, Jason Kidd, his comparison for many people, Magic Johnson, guy you mentioned, he was an okay point guard.
Second best player ever.
Oh, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, and John Wall. Which of those players do you think had more assists or rebounds in their rookie season?
Including Lonzo, who had more assists?
Yep.
Chris Paul.
No. It's your boy.
Magic?
No, John Wall.
Yes.
John Wall is close. He was around 8. Most other guys around 7. As far as assists go, and then the rebounds was booty for most of them. But Ball is the number 1 in assists between all those guys, and by far the number 1 in rebounds out of all those guys. So again, he has to hold those averages, but I honestly think they could go up.
Why do you say that?
The rebounds I could see going down to around 7, but for the assist, I see him, if not top 5. In assists for the season, I see him being 1, 2. Like, what other player is going to fill up the assist count more than him?
Just give De'Aaron Fox more minutes. I believe Ball averages more minutes, but I think you're sleeping on De'Aaron a little bit. He cares about that game. Lonzo Ball plays like you. When I play basketball with you, the defense is lackadaisical. We can push the intensity up a bit more.
Well, just because I would rather play like Lonzo Ball than how you play, which is Ryan Anderson.
Who, me?
Oh, I'll take it.
Yeah, except you don't have the deep stroke, so what does that make you?
Oh, wow.
That is my dub of the week. I think Lonzo Ball is doing very well. I think for me, he tied or maybe even won just because of the expectation, the Ball versus Wall matchup.
What?
Which you can add me, Marcin Gortat, but...
Marcin, we'll take you back in Orlando.
Marcin was the greatest backup center ever. It was only a matter of time till he got traded under Dwight.
Yeah.
All right, so the last thing that I want to go over with this pod is amongst all the Locker Room Beef affiliates, I started a fantasy basketball league. Basically, the league's called League Round Beef, and it's like 10 of either people that are directly or indirectly related, all the people on the pods, people who write in the articles, people who listen intently, like our first couple of listeners.
Anybody that talks to us, ever.
Yeah, basically. And so it's 10 of us, and I set up this really sort of, I don't say complex league, but it's a little more than usual. Just to give you an idea, the point system's a little different. For every point is just a point, but for assists, it's worth more than usual. For rebounds, it's worth more than usual. For steals, it's worth more. Blocks, it's worth more. You factor in turnovers. I really try to do as accurate of a job of trying to make each player actually as valuable as they should be, not just bucket getters.
I give you a bit of credit that I really liked that I peeped later in the scoring system. Team wins.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, I don't make it a huge thing like a lot of people who like put it as like a one entire point, but I put it as a small incentive to pick players that actually win ball games, not players that just rack up points on bad teams.
Yeah, actually, I complimented you for that because the criticism that I heard from one diehard sports fan, because he bets on sports games, all that. I was like, "Do you play fantasy?" He was like, "No, you're encouraging losses," and that really was like, "Oh yeah, you're right," but I still love fantasy sports. But that's the criticism that I've heard about it.
Yeah, I mean, this fantasy basketball stuff, once I've sort of created this league the way it is, it's pretty fun. I mean, I made it, like I said, a little more complex, but as long as you're into it, the big thing is, which we're going to get into, is I also made it an auction draft, which was basically my second time ever doing that. I kind of like did 2 auction drafts within a couple of days. Our auction draft was the night before the NBA season started. We were really able to get a good idea of what what to expect, and we knew like what players were available and all the reports. Basically, just the night before the NBA even started.
Yeah.
Like I said, we really tried to create a league that we'll be able to sort of reference. So I guess this segment can be called Fantasy Updates, League Round Beef. So, yeah, I want to talk a little bit about just tell me, like, every person on your squad, how you felt about drafting, what the auction draft was like, just to give people an idea. Basically, you have $1,000. Each player has $1,000. Each person, I should say. And then players are nominated and the entire league would bid. And as you can imagine, the better players went for more money and the worst players went for close to nothing. And you had 12 roster spots to fill, 9 starters, 3 bench guys. So that's basically how it went. But how did you feel it went, and who's your squad?
I am the highest scorer in the league.
What?
So I'm very happy with my squad. I have Dennis Schroeder, James Harden, Kevin Durant, Gorgie Dang, Marcus Sol, Kyle Kuzma, Julius Randle, Brook Lopez. Wow, I have a lot of Lakers. I didn't realize that. Clint Capella, Dario Saric, Dwayne Wade, De'Aaron Fox I did not draft De'Aaron Fox. He is my first move of the season. I was a bit of a noob. Kevin was pushing this auction draft, and I never did it before, like not in fantasy football or anything. And I was a bit confused, thought I was getting worked a little bit because he already did it before. But as it started rolling, I really liked it. I thought it was a lot of fun, a lot of strategy involved, a lot of mind games with your peers. And I was expecting to hold out on players a little bit, be really smart with my money, but I came off with a bang, as my first 2 players were Harden and Durant. So I had the least amount of money in the league for a very, very long time. I was like scared to even bid on any players to boost the price up, just in case I accidentally got that player and I would literally have nothing left, because I really like having depth on my roster. But after Harden and Durant, I was waiting, and I got, in my opinion, and the Philly guy also backs me up on this,
Shout out.
Marcus Sol was one of the best steals of the draft. He's actually my highest scorer of the week.
Wow.
So he's really carrying my team. And I didn't really have much strategy, but I'm mad with Gorgie Dang has underperformed. Dwayne Wade does not know what he wants in Cleveland. I don't know if he just doesn't like the city. Gabrielle Union won't move in with him because he lives in Cleveland.
I really wanted to have the pod available for when Dwayne Wade went to Cleveland, just because I was saying it as soon as he got traded that he should come off the bench. I know that he's been a starter all of his life, but it makes no sense for him, Derrick Rose, and LeBron James to be their backcourt. So I was saying it from day one, and I wish I could have just educated the Locker Room Beef family beforehand. But yeah, it's obvious now that he will come off the bench, and that's where I always think he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I feel like that kind of, if he came off the bench immediately, that would have got his mind straight. He probably didn't have to do too much that his knees couldn't do anymore. And it said Wade went to Ty Lue to come off the bench, which to me proves a lot of maturity in itself, to have to kind of bring yourself back a little bit. Yeah, he hasn't been very good hasn't been a very good fantasy buy. I actually was mad that I got him in the end. I was bidding on him to kind of make some overpay for him.
Dangerous game.
I kept saying, dang, I didn't want Wade, dang. And I ended up having him.
Anybody else on your roster after Dwayne Wade?
I picked up Gorgie Dang. I've always liked Gorgie Dang's game. But me and the Philly guy, I feel like we're in cahoots. We weren't talking to each other throughout the draft or anything, but we would comment down there.
What?
And he was like, Thibodeau is gonna cause Gorgie Dang hell, and he hasn't been getting any minutes. I honestly made a mistake. I forgot Taj Gibson was an addition who played under Thibodeau.
Yep.
So that's who's taking my boy's minutes. Dario Saric, sorry Philly guy. I don't know how much Philly you watch, but he is been very disappointing.
Yep.
And I actually drafted Marquise Chris, and he was my first drop for Darren Fox, who's been my first pickup and a good one so far.
Yeah. All right, let me just say my squad a little bit. Another cool thing about this league is you could really, the way you draft it can be very different. You could just have a bunch of like 3, 4, 5 superstars and then a bunch of crap players, or you can just have a super deep team, or you can have a bunch of all right players. Like there's all sorts of ways to do it. So it's really cool to see the different strategies people take. The way I did this one was not what I anticipated. My whole mindset actually was I was gonna get Kawhi, and basically that was going to be my head honcho, and then I was going to get just a solid point guard like a Mike Conley or something, and then I was going to go from there. You actually got one of the players I really wanted, which is Clint Capella.
Oh, I forgot to mention him. Yes, that has been one of my best surprises. I've always liked Capella, but I actually think, I can't quite remember because so much activity was happening in that draft. But were we in a bidding war for Capella?
No, because this is what I'm about to say. So I found myself, I wanted to bid for Kawhi, like I said. What ended up happening is all the big heavy gun players, like those top 7, 8, 9 players, were nominated, and Kawhi was left, and I hadn't, obviously I hadn't spent my money. And so I had the most money in the beginning, right? And I still had $1,000, and it started becoming sort of obvious that I was bidding for Kawhi. And so Nick, the Philly guy, ends up calling me out on the little chat, and he goes, I wonder who Kevin's saving for. So Kawhi Leonard gets put on the board, and Nick, like a smartass, he's an idiot, starts upbidding me to get Kawhi. So I end up basically screwing him over, and I say fine. So he paid a ridiculous amount for Kawhi, and I just let it happen. And so he was thrown off by it. I was thrown off by it. What ended up happening is it screwed both of us up, because now I didn't have a plan, and it screwed up his plan. And so now what ended up happening is I ended up getting a bunch of really good players, but nobody unbelievable. So my squad is Lonzo Ball, Lou Williams, Draymond Green, Tobias Harris, Nikola Jokic, Joe Ingles, Enes Kanter, Kyle Lowry, Jaylen Brown, Blake Griffin, D Rose, Thaddeus Young, and Chris Paul. So I got a dub the first week versus Ace Boogie.
Shout out.
So I'll take it. So far, obviously, Chris Paul was a little bit of a letdown, just the fact that he got injured. His first game, even though he didn't play that well, he still scored a decent amount for me. So I'm not concerned by that at all.
I have a question. You picked up Thaddeus Young?
I did. I picked it. So what ended up happening is, just so people know, I had the most money in the beginning, and then I got all of these, I would say between top 15 to top 40 players in Draymond Green, Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, Jokic. So I got a bunch of these really solid players, Kyle Lowry. So I ended up spending a lot of my money on those guys, and then I had $40-something left to fill out 5 roster spots, and each player at the least is $1. And what I ended up doing was I spent all of that money when Lonzo Ball came around, and I literally, if Brian Boatwright,
shout out,
if he had bid $1 more on Lonzo Ball, I wouldn't have got him, but I ended up getting him for $44, and I still think it's an unbelievable steal, and I knew it would be.
I think I nominated him. My nominations, because everyone was just nominating the top hitters, I would always try to just throw a little curveball, shout out Clayton Kershaw, in there.
Shout out.
Were you the one that nominated Tobias Harris?
Yes, sir.
Oh my gosh. So literally I wish I could look up the order, and I probably could, but I'm too lazy.
Yeah.
It was LeBron James, Giannis, Tobias Harris was the third or fourth one. And I was like, what the heck? Because typically you always throw out the really good players. So I actually have Tobias Harris.
I wanted him.
He's been doing really well for me, and I think that was a little bit of a steal. But it threw me off too, because that was my first purchase.
Yeah, my strategy, I think. So my strategy was to nominate players that if I would bid, I don't necessarily need them, but if I was going to bid up, I would not be mad with overpaying for them. So that's what I would do. I think I nominated Tobias Harris after I had bought Kevin Durant and James Harden. So I would look at it, tells you your average you probably weren't going to spend. So I'd always nominate players around that price that I wanted, or if I would overbid, I wouldn't mind having them on my roster.
Yeah, I think that's not a horrible position. Let's give the people a little bit an idea of who's like been really performing in this league. So like I said, the point system is basically every point's a point, like steals, blocks, assists, all that stuff's a little bit more, between 1.5, 2 points. So it gives you really like a true value. So as you can imagine, the highest scorer in the league right now is Giannis.
Yeah.
And Mr. Brain got that, and he bid a lot. He was supposed to, but he went for $383, which is the highest. After that, I think the second highest was LeBron, and my boy Brennan actually kind of a little overbid, but he's been doing pretty well, LeBron. Which, let's talk about LeBron a little bit. He's taking the point guard role in Cleveland right now. What do you think about that?
It's not surprising. He has to dig this team out of a hole, and he's always been capable. His ball handling is a bit sketchy. I don't know if you heard. He had some elbow injury, so he had to refine his shooting motion, and it quite possibly made it better. And he was tooting his own horn a bit, saying, I could go 50 something, 80 something. Like with the field goal 3-point free throw, he didn't say 50, 40, 90. He's not a lunatic. He's no Kyle Korver or anything. Or
Lauri Markkanen.
Oh yeah, Lauri Markkanen. He looks like the Rocky IV Russian.
What?
Yeah, he's always been able to do it. I actually think he did it in the finals. A little prelude to this upcoming season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been impressive so far, but like, I don't know. It's great for stats. I just don't know if his body will be able to take all that.
He'll rest.
Yeah.
Let me give you the top 10 scorers in the fantasy league, which basically is a representation of what are the top 10 most effective players really in the league right now. Is really how I try to set up this whole deal. So, number 1, Giannis. I think that's pretty obvious. Front runner for MVP at the moment. Number 2, Hassan Whiteside.
Oh my gosh.
Who currently is battling a little injury. Who he is also owned by Brainboat, right? And so he's been ridiculous. Giannis averaging 62 points a game, fantasy points. Hassan Whiteside averaging 61. Next, DeMarcus Cousins, who went off for a ridiculous game versus his old team in Sacramento. He's averaging 59 points. Next is LeBron, who we talked about, averaging 54. 52 points, Miles Turner, a guy I was really wanting to get, but just didn't have the money when he came around. But
Whoa, back it up. Break your breaks. You looking at average. Why don't you look at total fantasy points? Hassan Whiteside was hurt. He's only had one game.
Yeah, but I mean, that game he had was ridiculous. And plus, if you look at total, it's a little skewed, don't you think?
Doesn't durability matter?
I mean, yes, durability matters, but I think overall you want to look at the average, not the total.
Brian, I'm sure, is not happy with Hassan Whiteside on his roster.
Well, I can tell you this. I'm going to give him a little trade offer, so hopefully I submit that before he listens to this.
Hopefully he's awake.
All right, so here's my next one. So next is Aaron Gordon. Who would have thought that?
Next, LeBron.
I'm out, man.
All right, well, we're just going to leave that at that.
You might want to edit it.
Future headline. Yeah, we'll edit that one out.
No.
After that, Russell Westbrook, Fantasy King.
Well, me?
Kind of makes sense. Anthony Davis, also another Fantasy King. And then after that, Nikola Vucevic. 2 Magic players in the top 9. Thoughts?
What?
My thoughts is I'm looking at the total, and I have 2 of the top 5 total scorers. And Kevin Durant and Marc Gasol.
Yeah, but over the long-term season, unless there's a major injury, I would rather have a person that scores the highest average points because that's going to be the person that scores the most in the end.
Let's agree to disagree, and I can't wait for our matchup.
Okay, and we'll have a pod after that week. And then to round out the top 10, a player that I was literally bantering. Anybody that pays over $4 for this person is overpaying. LaMarcus Aldridge.
Well, me?
Which, obviously, I was being facetious. He's worth more than $4 in this league. But I can't believe how productive he's actually been. I mean, Kawhi's been out, so that's a big reason. But, my goodness, he's been amazing.
Where's Rudy Gay at? I thought he would step up a little bit with Kawhi being out.
Yeah, I mean, there's some other notables: Blake Griffin, Kevin Durant, Marc Gasol, like you said, Steph, James Harden, Kat.
Ben Simmons, Clint Capella, Victor Oladipo. Definitely, I mean, I think it's about accurate about who's playing well this league as far as the fantasy points go. But I still cannot fathom that 2 of the top 9 right now are on the Magic.
I mean, Frank Vogel is underrated. He's always has been. I'm actually excited as a Magic fan. Can't wait to go to some games. Trying to go to that Celtics, see Kyrie live again. Yeah, this is going to be a great season. I think the Magic are a bit better than you're giving them credit for. They've added some off-season players that I think are good. I think our young players are getting better.
Okay, so let's put this out there. So are you going to take the Magic to be in the playoffs?
Yeah, so far. Yeah.
No, so you have to double down right now, because here's what we'll do. Now, I want to start integrating this idea. So yeah, we all pretty much suck at freestyling, which not too many people are good, and we're not Dame Dollar or Childish Gambino with it. But what I want to do is kind of create short-term bets. Well, this one will be a little bit long-term, but we'll try to keep it more short-term in the future. And the loser has to freestyle for 30 seconds on the pod. And so we'll open it up with, this will be the first bet of the pod, so I'll make sure to save this little segment for future reference. But if the Magic make the Eastern Conference playoffs, then I will freestyle for 30 seconds.
What?
And you probably won't want to listen to that. That's just 2 taps if you're listening on iTunes.
Yeah.
And if the Magic don't make the playoffs, which is what's going to happen, Matt will have to spit some bars for us, which I'm sure they'll be unfortunate for 25 seconds, and then he always ends with a banger bar at the end.
I can't wait. I kind of don't want the Magic to make the playoffs.
It's a win-win for you. So we'll make sure to keep that in the bank. I'll make sure to note it. And this sort of rounds out the pod. Anything else you want to mention?
LeBron is point guard. Can't wait to keep seeing it. His body is better than Ronaldo's. It'll keep sustaining.
Stop.
Don't ever say LeBron's body won't sustain. He eats Tom Brady's avocado ice cream that we've all heard about, that Giselle probably cooks up, that no one can buy. But yeah, LeBron, point guard.
With that, thank you, LeBron, for listening. Thank you, Savannah.
Shout out.
Thank you for everyone who's able to tune in. If you don't already, go follow us on social media. Go check out our website, lockerroombeef.com. If you'd like to listen to us on YouTube, you can do that. We're also on SoundCloud and iTunes. So if you can, give us a 5-star rating. 5-star.
5-star.
And highly consider that subscription.
Yeah, just subscribe. You don't even have to look. They'll automatically pop up in your library like it's Magic, Orlando. But more words. I might have an article eventually, so look out for that.
Yeah, look out. We'll be posting articles this week as well as next week, of course. We recently put out an article because of Drake's birthday. Shout out to Drake. I know he's listening too.
Nope.
Basically with Drake's and all sports affiliations, all 84 of them. And so, yeah, so go check that out. It's written by a pretty big Drake fan who will not be named.
Well, me?
And yeah, so thank you so much. And go follow us on all of our crap. And see you next week.
Shout out Toronto FC.